G'day guys, welcome to this week's weekly developer update. I'm CW, and joining once again we have Joe Armeanio. How are you, mate?
Doing pretty well. Crazy week, but all in all, we had a great developer update.
Yeah, most definitely. We're recording this on Thursday, sort of US time, Friday my time. It's a pretty interesting time here in the industry as a whole, but here we are in the Ergo ecosystem, and today we're going to discuss quickly a little bit on the Rosen bridge front, sort of what that means for our ecosystem going forward, and a few other bits and pieces. So let's kick things off with that before jumping into the update.
Sure. So Rosen bridge is, an Ergo-centric bridge, right? And it's going to roll out with a couple of partnerships in terms of chains that it's going to connect with in succession. The first one will be Cardano. I know that's already been announced and already being tested, on testnet. That opens the ecosystem a little bit, but the end all be all goal is not just to have a bridge to Cardano, right? There will be, bridges to other larger ecosystems, and hopefully in time, it can scale to multiple environments to where it becomes, very multifunctional, to where you can move assets seamlessly, not only from Ergo to, let's just use the Ethereum blockchain, or Avalanche, or, I guess fill in the chain, right? But you can also move them seamlessly between other chains as well, using the smart contract logic on Ergo in the back end that nobody sees or needs to care about. And so long term, it's a matter of having interconnectivity with known assumptions, right? That's one thing that, in my opinion, has been a major point of failure in terms of bridging, is that oftentimes the marketing becomes the dominant factor, and not the actual assumptions and risks involved with bridging, right? I think that when you're open, you're transparent, you're upfront, people understand why it's potentially a better product. Yeah. So it's exciting to see. It's been in development for quite a long time, and I think that on launch we'll get some Rosen light framework, and it'll grow and kind of build itself out as it expands.
Yeah, just more to the point that you raised. Yes, you can transfer tokens, like say Erg to using Cardano, for example. You can move Erg to Cardano, you can move Cardano to Erg, and things like that. But one thing I think a lot of people haven't actually realized is, to the latter point that you made, Ergo being a central sort of, the blockchain as a whole being a central player, but being able to then move coins from, say, Cardano to Ethereum or things like that. That's the big value add, in my opinion, for the industry as a whole, not just like our little ecosystem here at Ergo, but potentially utilizing a framework that could be this powerful for the entire industry. That's huge in my mind.
Yeah, and the net goal of it, in my opinion, the best thing about Rosen is that there's upfront assumptions, right? Yeah. When you get into the blockchain ecosystem, a lot of the times things are marketed as easy, right? Like, oh, it's just a zero knowledge proof rollup that's based on new cryptography, a trustless bridge. And then you don't really get into, like, what are the trust assumptions? Why is it trustless? And ultimately, I think that taking things apart and really trying to understand how they work, why they work, is just important moving forward. A lot of things in crypto market are kind of a horse race, like get to market first and be dominant. And when you're assembling something that's complex and has a lot of potential points of failures as you're running to the finish line, that's not always the best recipe for quality.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. Like last cycle, we saw a number of bridge exploits, and there was a lot of noise and a lot of marketing around different things at different points of time of that cycle. It's fair to say, but ultimately the undoing it brought to light the lack of sort of infrastructure behind the security properties of these bridges, and having these assumptions known up front and how to interact and all these sort of bits and pieces like you just sort of mentioned. I think that's very important for the end user as a whole to know what they're interacting with.
Yeah, I would agree. Those type of things tend to get buried. I think they should be more upfront. So I'm really excited to see Rosen roll out. I think that it will be kind of a continual progression, right? Ideally, if we're having this conversation a year, 2 years from now, it'll be spider-webbed all over the place.
Yeah, touch wood. Be nice to see. So just quickly, how does Rosen differ from sort of a traditional, say, EVM bridge sort of structure?
Well, the first is that you have two different parties that kind of create let's say, 2 layers of authentication. And you also are not really using the oracle. You're using one distributed party, that first layer, as your oracle in a way. Like watchers are your oracle group, but they're not broadcasting directly, and they don't have the ability to execute anything. They just kind of submit to chain, hey, some event is happening, and then the other party reacts. So it kind of changes the oracles that a lot of bridges use, which have been a point of failure in a couple of circumstances, and it's decentralizing it and creating an incentive for it.
That's an interesting sort of concept. It differs greatly that anything that's sort of been produced in the industry as a whole, and it'd be exciting to see this roll out further. You did mention that, yes, it is on both the Ergo and Cardano test nets. It's on mainnet doing private testing, I believe, as well. So, it'd be good to see more of this come to light, and ultimately the progression of the framework as a whole.
I'm pretty excited to see it. You want to get into the update?
Sounds good, mate. Let's jump in. So where are we? Kicking things off, we have Satergo. Good to see Aberg back with us, making some announcements. So Satergo's unreleased updates, so they'll be available in the master branch. They fixed the node log level setting, which broke due to changes in the Ergo node. Added setting to change the VM argument of the node. For example, limit RAM usage. When using the CoinGecko price source, all fiat currencies are now available rather than just USD or the euro. Translations have been updated, and finally changed the default testnet host because Ergo Platforms 1 has been stuck frozen for almost a month.
Uh-oh.
So that's what's that one? That's Ergpies, I think. MGpai, sorry. He spun up a testnet on that front.
All right, next we have Grand Gambit. Looks like they added a gambling addiction help page. So if you're suffering from poor decisions, please read that. Which basically has a questionnaire that will let you know when you're going a bit too far with it, and tells you to contact us, and I'll have someone experienced helping the user if he wants. That's good, right? Sometimes people get on tilt and they make unwise decisions. Hopefully you risk what you can afford to lose. I think that's always the balance. Looks like they've listed ErgoPad tokens. So those of you out there that are in the ErgoPad community, you now can gamble with that asset, and improved a few UX details to make the speed pot more understandable. Also fixed a few bugs.
Out of the amount of times that I've actually used Grand Gambit, I still have not received the Comet reward, the 10,000 Comet, etc., whatever it was. The 50% chance. So I've been blacklisted, I think.
Ouch.
So following Grand Gambit, we have Luivatra and update on Paideia. They're finalizing the alpha version of Paideia SDK. So it's expected to be done during the next week, followed by some simple API works surrounding it. Next step is internal testing on the alpha version. Any urgent issues will be resolved in the beta version. The beta version will be on the public test, will be a public test. Any important issues found during the beta will be fixed in the MVP version, and set up automatic running of tests on GitHub and package deployment from the main branch. The main branch is also protected from direct commits. So any developer worth his salt knows you never ever commit straight to the main branch, which is good to see Louis taking that sort of precaution. And then there's just a couple of links if you want to follow those to the Paideia SDK.
All right. It looks like next we have Ilya with Spectrum. Looks like Spectrum Network. They're working on signature aggregation protocol. Spectrum Finance on Ergo. They're working on pool deployment script app for operators. Handle protocol within Spectrum Finance. Researching for further bots to support, in addition, API description and improvements. I know that Gaza has been saying soon in terms of the farming. In fact, I even think he went to chat GPT and made up like a list of 15 soon synonyms. I'm not sure how far he is down the list, but it's, good that they're testing things before they just push it live, right?
Yeah.
Spectrum Finance on Cardano. They're updating Cardano analytics backend for streaming API. Front end has new history, UI, UX. Looks like they fixed some minor text bugs and are testing with the closed community group stress test for the farming programs, and the community testing over the weekend found some issues in a bot that has been fixed. So that's why things need to be tested instead of just pushed to market. I know people are always excited, but you have to build things the right way.
Yeah, most definitely. And the Spectrum guys are pretty methodical in their processes as well, which is great to see. Next up, we have greenhat, and he has tested minting new reward tokens and fixed some issues that they found. Released a new version 2.0.2 beta 6 for the Oracle core. Added transaction verified TX input proof, and a work in progress is looking into the prover error in a 7 out of 10 multisig. And next, test the governance in the gold Erg pool on testnet.
All right, now we have an update from Nemo. Looks like Nemo's going to be on vacation for the week. With SigmaFi, added ongoing loans tab, added some major UX improvements. With FleetSDK, refactoring serializer to make consistent use of Sigma Writer and Sigma Reader byte streams for improved performance. And with Machina Finance, working on contract designs, also working on a high-level write-up on the overall project design. So everybody keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah, that's it. Lots going on there. Quite different projects across the board, but also enjoy the vacation away deep in the depths of the ocean.
It's one of those things where the laptop's on vacation too.
Yeah, most definitely. You can try and get away, but yeah, it's always chained.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have MHS and a Rosen bridge update. So on the public beta test launch, it's pending a fix in the Sigma Rust, but the process is already started and will be live soon. I put the system under a new stress test and checked the event status. Some new bugs were found and fixed. Worked on standardizing of the test tools, especially just in our case, discussing different best practices, conventions, etc., etc. On the guard services for Rosen Bridge, worked on finding the cause of invalidation of some events when the events are not meant to get invalid. Worked on finding the cause of a WASM prover error. So it also caused their multi-signature subsystem to time out. So they're still working on that, as it's non-deterministic and cannot be reproduced easily. Sounds like a tricky one. So Rosen Bridge Utils introduced a new package inside the utils repository. The new package is meant to serve as a container for different functions and APIs, which are used inside other Rosen Bridge packages. The first function we worked on was download Rosen assets that can be used to programmatically download Rosen Bridge assets, including token map and all chains address files, instead of doing it manually. The function's mainly implemented to be used in the upcoming Rosen Bridge CLI package. On the Bridge Watcher, retested the migrations in Postgres and fixed some bugs. Abstract chain. So every blockchain supported by the guard service in the bridge requires some actions which are defined in abstract classes and structures in the project. The classes are implemented, and the development document, which is a guide about how to add new changes, is in progress. Then on the tokenomics side, so working on improvements after receiving some comments from the experts. And then finally on Minotaur wallet, they're working on storing multisig communication and design co-signing server for multisig wallet communication. So MHS has his hands full.
Yeah, always does.
Yeah.
Looks like the next is from Alex. Looks like the protocol node development is what he's been working on. Mostly on dumping UTXO snapshots efficiently, as current method of dumping trees stored in memory to disk takes 10 seconds. He's targeting copying from database read-only snapshot in a dedicated thread instead, thus not locking the memory. A lot of efforts needed in regards with redoing the serializers, etc. He's reviewing the mempool rework efforts, posted the GitHub 1958, and reviewing PRs in Sigma, EIPs, etc. With Dexy, he extracted contracts into a dedicated folder, made links in the README. You can check that out at Dexy stable. It looks like Code for Us reported arbitrage mint support and off-chain SDK. And Chaincash, he's added note collateralization estimation predicate. So one out of many is possible, supporting whitelists as well.
Always something going on there with Alex. And
it's funny. I wonder how many times that he's been playing around with dumping the UTXO snapshot efficiently. Like, how many times has he ran that sync and fiddled with it?
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I would dare say too many, but that's how you build it right.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, moving on. Little comment here from Captain Nemo. When Paideia fleet plugins and Luivatra, when time available is greater than 0.
Yeah, well, that's always a struggle, isn't
it? Exactly. Okay, next up we have Hailypdll and the Safe wallet. So continued to the Explorer removal from Safe wallet and made a 0.7.0 beta version available on GitHub for testing. The Explorer is not used anymore for fetching the UTXOs or sending the transactions in the wallet. And the DApp connector, it requires you to use the node version 5.0.7 plus with the additional indexes enabled. And there are still a few issues in the indexes for some addresses or token information. It's good to see that being utilized.
Yeah. Looks like our next is going to be from Morphic. On Sigma, he's fixed a bug with reflection and repaired for review. It's now merged, prepared the next PR draft. With AppKit, he's reviewed the new PR from MrStahlfelge and did some fixes. It's now merged. Miscellaneous, looks like Scorex-utils version 0.2.0 and Scala.js support released. Scripto version 2.3.0 with Scala.js support has been published on Sonatype. He reviewed EIP42, which is the multi-sig wallet. Created a new EIP43 reduced transaction. Looks like MrStahlfelge and greenhat, you need to decide on the TX cost. A lot of discussions in Discord. And the next step looks like the next Sigma PR for review is, and migrate the AppKit to Sigma 5.0.5.
All the guys seem to be sort of having significant updates this week on multiple different fronts as well, which is pretty interesting and great to see. Okay, next we have LowKeyNerd and BlitzTCG. So Mick will be making and releasing a development update video on their YouTube channel this week, and they'll take a look at the improved deck builder code, so collectible game boards, and a first look at matchmaking and more. In the meantime, here's one of the collectible game boards, which is pretty cool, huh? I love the artwork. It's so unique and everything, and the time and effort that gets put into these is pretty crazy.
Yeah, their dev updates are better than ours, CW. I hate to say it.
they got a bit better budget.
Yeah, everybody out there, I would recommend, if you want to check out Blitz, it's a great way to hop onto their YouTube channel.
Yeah, most definitely.
Looks like next we have MrStahlfelge. Looks like his work this week began the implementation of Multisig UI in the wallet app. Creating a Multisig wallet is done for Android and desktop.
That's good to see. And welcome back, MrStahlfelge.
Yeah.
Following Mr. S, we have MGpai. So on the ErgoSapiens front, working on the UI UX and working on NFT art and metadata. And Lilium, working on UI UX, working on the front-end transaction building the community, devised a logarithmic formula to change collections. So the paper's listed on that link, and also recorded a summit video, which will be released in the coming weeks. And also the end-to-end demo starts at the timestamp 17.20. So you can jump on there and check that one out if you like.
All right, next it looks like we have soysor with Ergode. The added end-to-end testing project that uses the Ergode npm package, loads the node in browser, then probes node's state to ensure it's running as expected, to make sure the web ENVS doesn't break during dev and the npm package works properly. Added some cross compilation steps to CI/CD to ensure CLI builds for Mac, Linux, and Windows work. Working on some peer management stuff, sending get peers messages to random peers, etc. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite differing in a lot of sort of things that have come sort of about, but having that dependency on and being able to run infrastructure and browsers, etc., is pretty crazy.
It's gonna be interesting to see where light clients take us, right?
Yeah, most definitely there. Okay, next up we have HQ and the Ergcube update. So added a new section for Twitter influencers. So you must follow Twitter accounts if you want to follow daily Ergo updates, etc. Check the last 100 sold and on sale NFTs. The UI UX removed a lot of weight from the index page by caching data. On the back end, made his life easier by simplifying the data input project. Just creating one SQL with the extra field of token and LPID socials to automatically update the token dashboard, and social sections has to all at one. And then in the coming days, we'll try to start learning on how to create GitHub repo and to use the add your project to Ergcube, working on a community section where you can vote for people, tasks done in the ecosystem. It can be helpful for the SigmaFi program also. And Ergcube and Love side. So today that is distributed 2,000 love in the top 70 Ergo content creators and social marketing accounts, which is good to see.
Yeah, nice to see that type of engagement. It's a valuable tool.
Yeah.
Looks like next we have Anon Real. On his side, this week's big improvement was implementing a service to send transactions to the network in a reliable way, such that we make sure all users' transactions will be processed by Ergo nodes and will not be forgotten. We will make sure all bids, mints, and listings will be evaluated by the Ergo network eventually. We will also notify the user about the fate of their transactions. Fixed a bug in the artwork validation process, taking artworks with empty royalties into account. Fixed a bug about prices shown for artworks. Fixed the price chart. More dark mode adaptation, filters, sorting options, and buttons. A few UI improvements, such as showing a proper text when a collection is empty, removing a few unwanted texts in a few pages, and using similar thumbnails in search page. Added timestamp to notifications. We also migrated our logs to a comprehensive logging service. It has helped us to find issues way faster and follow the performance of the APIs much better. So congratulations on that update. Auction house is marching forward. Nice to see.
Yep, just humming along nicely and working through a number of sort of updates and features, but also then mitigating the risks with bug fixes, etc. And that looks like it sums up the developer update for this week. What sort of sparked your interest there?
I'm always happy to see developers like chipping away at things, right? Test them, break them, fix them, test them, break them, fix them, replan, refactor, test it, break it, fix it. It's not always the sexiest work, right? Crypto has this certain sex appeal that is often on the front end, but in the back end, you have people that are doing a lot of less than sexy activities that make everything work.
Yeah, exactly. Band-aids and cable ties and things holding bits and pieces together. And ultimately, we've seen a number of things come unstuck, unfortunately. But yeah, that constant workload, looking at things, breaking it, providing or asking for feedback from private testers, community testers, putting things out there, battle testing, etc., etc. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's a grind. And so I always have to, tip my hat to everybody out there that's building, open source stuff that makes everybody else not have to go through the same grind, and it accelerates the ecosystem. That's big.
Yeah, most definitely. That's a very good point. And we might have to reach out to Gazza and get some downloads from his GazzaBot chat GPT and sort of elaborate on the soon concepts, just to be able to sort of provide some updates on that front.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far down the list he is. I know that everybody in that team is working hard to push out liquidity farming. They're also building, their own network. They're also building on Cardano, so it's not like they don't have a lot of balls in the air. Yeah. But it's funny that Gazza is unfortunately the chin that catches all the heat in that channel. It's a good sport, though.
Yeah, most definitely, he is 100%. All right, guys, that wraps up this weekly developer update. Joe, it's been a pleasure chatting once again, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good one.
Easy.